Have you had a chance to like check out any of the digital stuff you shot from
Yeah.
the golf course?
Yeah. I'm just waiting on some film to come back because I shot Adam Bovee the next day or no, a day prior, I think.
Okay.
And so I shot him, sent off the film, and I like briefly glanced at the digital from yours and his, and it looks sweet, but I am like trying to hold off on editing any of it so that I could try to match like some of the film to digital, and
Oh yeah.
just hoping some of the film came back good. But
What film were you shooting again?
just Portrait 400.
That's right.
But yeah, it's always just like hit or miss, and I feel like labs take longer now. And so it's gonna be, and it's like 4th of July week, so it'll probably be a little while.
It'll be a minute before
I'll send you some sneaks though. I'll send you like a couple of sneak like photos, or at least like one or two,
Nice.
because there's some cool ones on there.
Because that I have that as my background right now.
Oh, nice.
Just the one Lindsay grabbed.
Yeah, dude, that's like one of my favorites, honestly.
Oh,
It's
really?
like, yeah, it's like that. I do feel like I was looking through them, and a lot of it was backlit because the scenery was only. It's like if we shot in the other direction, it was like parking lots, other people.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of wish I got a different light, but it's like just have to work with whatever we had.
With what you got.
There's some cool ones though. I did like some continuous bursts on you in the sand pit with him in there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it looks cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
For all the millions of people out there who are listening right now, you might give them like a little intro, on the work that you do.
Yeah. My name is Ryan Varga. I'm a photographer based in Denver, Colorado, and mostly shoot lifestyle, documentary, editorial, portrait stuff. And I'm a dad, have 2 kids, and I like to run, and that's about it.
Yeah. I see you on Strava.
Dude, I've been getting out there more. It's like,
Yeah.
it's since Van was born, I've been running a lot less, but, yeah, after first marathon last year, I'm like wanting to do another, but I need to
Yeah.
wait till our schedule's a little more flexible.
Yeah. That's a
When you
lot
have a
of training.
newborn, yeah, it's a lot of training, and yeah, his sleep schedule's just like so inconsistent that
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna need to get up early to do those runs.
Yeah. I got to get back into doing more cardio. I've just been strictly gym this year.
Let's hit Green Mountain while it's still actually green.
I know.
Fortune's
It is
brown.
very green right now.
It
It's
is.
usually Brown Mountain.
Yeah, Brown Mountain. It is.
Can you kind of tell me a little bit about this dad's project?
Yeah. Yeah. So I started working on it in 2022. That's the year that Penny was born. And I noticed that a lot of friends that were around the same age that were also either in the creative field or just had these unique careers were also becoming parents and fathers. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of trying to think of a photo project I could start working on. One, just to have a constraint I could work within, because I was kind of shooting everything. I was shooting like landscapes, lifestyle, portrait, just studio stuff. And I was trying to think of a project that I thought would be cool, just to work within a constraint and also use that project as a way to just get better at photography and just to essentially like complete a project and, have a finished thing at the end, which I kind of like haven't done before. It was always just kind of shooting here or there, shooting a lot of different stuff. And so I started shooting friends that were becoming fathers that were in this, kind of balancing like becoming a father in the modern age, which I think is a little bit like interesting because of the times we live in. Just a lot of the people that were becoming dads were either like right after COVID or during COVID. So it's a really interesting time to become a parent. And then also seeing these friends or other male figures that were balancing becoming a parent, which I think is a very natural like thing, but also managing these creative careers or aspirations, which I think is like an interesting dichotomy. It's like using this whole like left side of the brain, some of them doing it as a career, and then this other side, which is like trying to keep this young like baby alive.
Yeah.
And so I just started shooting friends that were becoming parents, and it's also just like a way for me to connect with other I guess, males and friends that were also becoming dads to just like talk about this shared experience of becoming a father and what it's like. And I think we're all kind of just trying to figure it out. And yeah. And then after I like started looking at some of the photos as a group and as a whole, it looked really interesting. And so, yeah, I've just been like continuing to shoot, continuing to reach out to people, and yeah, just been plugging along, working on the project.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a cool idea.
Thanks.
When you were telling me about it, I think probably a couple of years ago is when I first heard about you doing it.
Yeah.
And then you reached out to me and we wound up doing a little shoot with Jamie on a golf course, local golf course. And it was super fun.
Yeah.
Like I had a blast.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you doing that. And
Yeah.
it's like a lot of times I feel like whenever I do these shoots too, which is something I'm learning like along the way, is like, I mean, sometimes you only have like 20 or 30 minutes, maybe
Right.
45 before, you know, especially exactly.
Yeah, they
especially
start
if it's
losing it.
toddler, it's like,
Yeah.
you have a short window. And
Oh yeah.
but yeah, also, you know, a lot of photos I say this as a dad myself too, is a lot of photos you have of your kids are either of your kids or it's of your wife and kids, or it's of the whole family. It's like
Yep.
you, the wife and the kids. And it's so rare that dads have photos of them and their kids together. Mm-hmm. And so the guys that have shot have reached out and they're like, dude, these are some of my favorite photos I have of me and my kids. Like we didn't have like any before. It's just like maybe random like cell phone selfies here and there. But yeah. And so it feels like something cool that I can like give back to
Yeah.
like the people that let me shoot them too.
I mean, even I was thinking about that after the shoot. I was like, man, like you said, I have a few cell phone photos and like Lindsay's taken some of me and Jamie, but definitely not as many as we have of like Lindsay and Jamie. And
Yeah.
there's way more mom and baby, which makes sense.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just, I think like my wife's, Shelly, she's a professional photographer. She's been
Yeah.
a wedding photographer for, I don't know, like 12 years now. And to her, photography is work. It's like if she's not shooting a wedding,
Yeah.
she doesn't really bring out her camera. So
Yep.
I'm always the like one that's like bringing out a ton of cameras, taking photos of like her and Penny and Van, which is my son's name. And yeah, and just like shooting them. So there's a ton of photos of Shelly and the kids or just the kids and not a lot of, you know, me and the kids. And it seemed like it was the same for other dads too.
It's so true. Was there a moment, like you might have already kind of briefly said this, but what gave you the idea? Was there like a moment where it kind of popped into your head to do this project, or was it just slow realization over time?
It was, I think I was reading a few photography books. Aperture had put out a couple books. There was one, I think, called like Photography Projects. And I was just looking at artists that I really admire. And I love like photo books. And like, it's just something I've always been super into, collecting them, like flipping through them. And one of my favorite photographers, Justin Chung, he's out in LA. He did this book called Faculty Department, where he basically like has this like friend group or people he knows, and they're either like furniture makers or artists or creatives or designers. And he kind of shoots them in their environments or in their studios.
Cool.
And it's like, he put out this book that, you know, shows these people like in their elements, like living these, I guess like creative careers that involve like some kind of craft. And it's just like a very like, I don't know, like slow, like cool, like photography book. And I found myself like flipping through it a lot.
That's awesome.
And I kind of looked at that book like, okay, I'm going to do something similar, but with dads. And the reason I did it was because I like shooting people. I saw it as a way to connect with others. But I think like after, you know, flipping through that photo projects book by Aperture, I started to realize like, there's not really like, I don't know, like you could spend all day trying to figure out what like project to shoot.
Right.
But you kind of just have to like pick one and stick to it. And the constraints you put on yourself of shooting a photo project, I think helps make you more creative, because it's like, okay, if you're if I'm shooting dads and their kids, that's a limitation. The kind of gear I'm going to use is a limitation because kids move like kind of quick. And yeah, it just kind of helps free up like the mental space of like what else you should shoot. And the reason I picked doing a project like this was because it was close to home too. It was an experience that I was going through.
Yeah.
Where if I tried to pick a photo project where, I don't know, it was like, I'm going to shoot like surfers in California. It's like, I've never surfed. It's like, I don't know anything
Yeah.
about that lifestyle. It would just be very forced, even though like, I think it's cool. It's like, it doesn't relate to my life at all.
You want something that you can understand.
Yeah. Something that I can understand and something I'm actually living. And so,
Yeah.
it might've been in that book or somewhere. It was like, pick something that's close to home or like close to your experience. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is literally my experience. It's like, spend most of my time like with my family, and it's like, it's like trying to be like a, romantic, like travel photographer right now doesn't fit my lifestyle at the moment. Because I'm raising 2 young kids. So
Is there an end goal for like, do you see like a time where you're going to have enough to put the book together?
yeah, I picked a obscure number of 35 because that was the age I was when Penny was born, my daughter.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get to 35 and then start printing the photos, rearranging them, and do a little gallery show here in Denver and invite all the friends and dads that have let me shoot them, and then rearrange it into a book and
Super cool.
plan on just like funding it myself and seeing who wants to purchase one. But I think just having like something physical in my hands saying like, I did this, like I made this. I think I'll be proud of it, whether it turns out like, people buy it or not. It's like, I think I'll be proud of myself like for finishing it. So 35 is kind of the number I'm aiming for.
Nice. That's a nice round number.
It's an odd number.
You're right. Non-round.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking even number. You're right.
Even,
Whatever.
well, what does round number mean? No, I'm thinking about it. It meant something when I
Jamie,
said it.
pull that up real quick.
Yeah. Hey, Jamie, can you pull it up? I actually have a little Jamie. Yeah, I was going to ask you too about, I mean, you shoot, seems to me like a decent amount of film too.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite kind of like, maybe that's a dumb question, like your favorite film stock to shoot on, but do you have like a go-to?
I love Portrait 800. I think it just like super like saturated colors. Like it looks cool. It's just the prices of film has gone up so much that it's hard to shoot. I started out where I was going to shoot this whole project on film. Mm-hmm. And then after it was like, just after prices went up in the last couple of years and Kodak just kept doing their announcements, like they're going to raise prices.
Right.
I started shooting on the Fuji GFX, and now I'll shoot some film, a lot of the Fuji, and try to match it the best I can. But I like shooting Portrait 800 a lot, and I think I'll always shoot film in some capacity because it's just special, and it's like there's so much tactile element.
Oh, yeah.
And part of me feels like whenever you're making something, the more you're using your hands, I feel like the more you're kind of tapping into your own creativity. Mm-hmm. I think like creativity is kind of tied to us using our hands. If you think about like drawing or writing or painting or playing an instrument or ceramics or woodworking, it's all tied to our hands.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of the reason people like shooting film and Leica. It's like those kind of things. Is like the more you're using your hand, I feel like it kind of just like helps certain neurons fire off, and you kind of like tap into something. And it just feels different than when you're just pressing, everything's on auto. You're just pressing a button. You might be using your feet, but I feel like the more I can kind of like use my hands, it helps a little bit. And it's just, I don't know, it's just fun. Like it just looks different. It looks great. And yeah, I think I'll keep shooting it in some capacity, but it's definitely way less these days than it was.
Yeah, same. I mean, I feel like it brings, like when I'm shooting film versus digital, like it brings an additional level of focus that is not there for when you're shooting digital. I think the price has a lot to do with it because you're like, I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want to waste this slide. But
Yeah, it just like if a client's paying for it, it's like, sure,
Yeah.
I'll shoot it all day. But if it's like for personal stuff, I'm like, how far do I want to go,
right,
and how much does it matter?
right,
And maybe it does matter. I don't know. It's like I said, it's my kind of like first project, so I don't know. Like there's different formats in there,
yeah,
but I'm kind of just hoping like my style kind of comes through like either way.
yeah, yeah. For me, it brings it. I don't know. I just feel like it's a heightened level of focus. Maybe I take a little bit more time before I pull the shutter,
Yeah.
which is it's fun. But speaking of style, do you feel like you have a specific style of photography? Are you still working on it? Are you still finding it? Like, where are you at in that point in your career?
I feel like it's evolved a lot. I feel like when you first start photography, it's like you're into different you're into shooting different things, you're into shooting different looks, and I feel like my style has evolved and definitely more matured as I've got older. I think like I don't know, I definitely loved like nostalgic, like a lot of like nature and kind of like a lot of film. And then I think just more lately, it's just a lot less like saturated, a lot less like in your face. And it feels more like it's maturing in a lot of ways. But I still like shooting people a lot. I think that's something that I've kind of like realized as far as like, personal stuff goes and what I actually enjoy doing with the camera.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think I don't know, it's hard to explain because it's like I could pull out some words and be like, oh, it's like this, it's like that.
Yep.
But I feel like it is changing and, evolving, and I don't know, it might change again and evolve, but yeah, I don't know.
Dude, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like my, style changes constantly, even like year to year.
Yeah.
And for photo, I think it's different than for video, and especially with paid work, it's definitely different than personal. Because for professional jobs, my style needs to be reflective of what the client is looking for. So that's kind of how I look at it,
Yeah.
or what the director is looking for. For personal work, I feel like, at least in the beginning, it's, pushing a lot of extremes and like testing limits on like contrast and saturation and like how aggressive you can be with the framing. But I do feel kind of the same way to where, being in my mid-30s now, it's like subtlety seems to be a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like, I don't know. I think my style is maybe a little more like documentary editorial than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when it comes to shooting or editing, it's like you want to take a photo that maybe doesn't necessarily look like it was very of the time you shot it. Like if that like,
Yeah.
like look at all those like 2015 like photos of like whatever landscape stuff in like Oregon and Washington. It's like, oh, that was definitely like the thing at the time.
Right.
And yeah, I think, I don't know. It's like the more you look through photo books and I think you said, like I said, like getting older, it's like the more you kind of want to tame it down and try not to save the photo with the edit. You want it to stand on its own.
Yeah. That being said, saying that out loud, but also I'm doing this personal project right now with a local motorcycle shop called Wood Shop Choppers.
I saw you posting about that the other day.
And we're doing like some fucking wild shit. So
Yeah.
it's like really aggressive in your face. I'll show you
awesome.
some of the footage because
Yeah.
I just got it back the other day.
That's awesome.
But filming these guys in their shop, just literally like fucking around and going crazy, like drinking beers and building bikes. Like,
Yeah.
that's what they do. And they have a blast doing it, and they don't take themselves super seriously. So I came across their page on Instagram, and I was like, I gotta do something with these guys because they're just so much fun.
That's awesome. Did you just reach out like, hey, like
Yeah, Sean O'Neill had worked with him before. So,
Of course, Sean.
Shout out to Sean.
Shout
He
out
knows
Sean
everybody.
O'Neill. That guy's a mystery.
He really is, in the best of ways.
Yeah.
So Sean did a quick intro for me, and Grayson, who's the guy who runs their social media, he was like, hell yeah, dude, just come down anytime, we'll film. And so we showed up, and it was me and my buddy Nick Brusso, who's the DP for this project, and I'm directing it and shooting a few stills. But we showed up with like kind of a full crew. There were like 6 or 7 of us, and I think these guys were a little off put by like this huge camera package and lights and everything. But we filmed for like 10 hours with them at their shop.
Wow.
90-degree day with no AC in this little garage in the middle of Denver. And we had a blast. I'll show you some of the raw footage that we have. But we did one day, and then we have one more day we're going to shoot, and it's like out on the road. So we're going to do like car mount stuff, filming them like driving.
Yeah.
I think it'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I feel like that's where like people's voice and all this stuff kind of comes out anyway. It's like
right.
The personal projects you shoot, that kind of stuff. Client work's always great, but I feel like only like a small part of your voice can shine through because there's usually, very specific needs and, a place that it's going. There's a shot list. But I feel like those personal projects are where a person's voice can evolve. And what I've realized too is like it's like the subconscious or conscious reasons people pick a personal project. I feel like also says a lot about them and like what they either are into or aspiring to be into.
Right.
So I feel like it really is like a pure, like, I mean, you think about it, you're putting all this effort and work into creating something that usually the payoff is just like, I mean, it might lead to some client work, but it's like, I made this thing.
Right.
And it's like, I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Personal work, I feel like I talk about this all the time because it is really relevant. It's like I've shot a lot of personal projects, creative projects that have led to a lot of paid work, which is cool. Mm-hmm. But even more, it's led to nothing.
Yeah.
But I still find value out of it, even if it doesn't lead to anything. And like you were saying with style, I feel like I pick up off of whoever I'm filming, especially these guys. Like that's going to be, this spot is reflective of their personalities. And I don't think it would be nearly as aggressive if they were just like pretty chill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this project would be something completely different if that were the case, which I should hit you up for day 2 because I realized I was trying to shoot stills, but directing, I was like, it just takes up too much time to do both. So if you're down for day 2, you should come along and just shoot stills.
Yeah, man. Let me know the dates that you're going out there, and that'd be super fun.
We're gonna shoot for end of July, I think. Yeah, end of the month.
Maybe if some of them have kids, just nail some dad shots while they're out there too.
I don't know if they do. I'd have to check.
That'd be kind of cool.
But yeah, that just popped in my head. I was like, yeah, you should definitely come out.
Oh yeah, that'd be sweet.
Cool. Because on some projects, I feel like I can direct video and then step aside and shoot stills. But on stuff like this, I don't have the brain power for that.
I think there's so much like task switching that.
Yeah.
I mean, photo and video, I feel like is similar in some ways, but also very different. And I think it's like, to have one person dedicated to each.
It's so much better.
It's so much better. And it just frees up like, it's like if you're shooting video and photo at the same time, you're going to get okay video, okay photo.
Right.
If you're shooting just photo, you might get some really good photo. And if you're shooting just video, you'll probably get some really good video.
Yep.
It's like almost getting like 50% of each kind of sets you up for like getting just some basic like stuff. I feel like
it's a big brain switch. Yeah. And I feel like you lose a lot of focus going from one to the other. If you have time, especially on like paid shoots, I've directed video and shot stills, but you have to really build it into the schedule and be very like, okay, we're stopping at this point. I'm going to take a minute to like reset, go pick up the camera, think through these next shots. A lot of the times I already have it shot listed, so I don't have to do a lot of like the the heavy lifting in
Yeah.
the moment. But
Well, I feel like the nice thing about shooting stills on set, if you're working with video, is so much lighting is already set up too. And
oh yeah,
especially if there's like a lot of continuous, like already set up for whatever is going on, it just makes getting cool photos like easier too.
doing that mental switch from continuous lighting to strobes can be tough too.
Yeah.
Or it can be really fun, or both. But
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be sick to have you out.
Dude, let me know the date you're going out there.
Yeah, I will.
down.
Once we have it locked in. One other thing I wanted to talk about was a lot of people don't realize this, and I actually didn't realize this about you in the beginning, was that photography is not your full-time job.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually really cool, and kind of wanted to dive in that and pick your brain on it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've been working a 9 to 5 the whole time that I've been a photographer. And it started off like, I first picked up a camera and I was, starting to get better at shooting and trying to just figure out what I wanted to do with the whole thing. In the beginning, I did some like portraits and headshots, and then I shot like 2 weddings and was like, I don't want to do this. As far as the wedding thing goes, my wife loves shooting weddings, but I did too. And I was like, I'll put down a camera if I have to do this. And just kind of like, I think like try to find my way with it. And in the beginning, I think like, I was like, okay, I'm going to make this transition from having my 9 to 5 to being a full-time like creative and full-time like photographer. And I found that it was really like trying to force it to work as far as the photography thing going. Like, okay, I'm going to make this thing that I really like and I really love pay my bills too.
Yeah.
And it really started to put a heavy burden on photography, and the gigs that I was taking to try to fill that income gap weren't always the gigs that I wanted to do. And it was kind of making me not enjoy photography that much.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took a step back and was like, I love photography so much. And the more that I try to make it, do a bunch of other things too, the more I start to resent it. And so it's like, I feel like photography has given me so much. It's like how I met my wife. It's like how I've met a lot of my friends here in Denver. It's like given me passion and joy and like a way to document my family. And like the one thing that it hasn't done is paid my bills. And I'm okay with that because I feel like I still get to keep this passion for photography, and I can say no to clients that I don't want to work with, and I can say yes to the ones that I really want to work with. And I can shoot passion projects like as much as I want and not worry about like, paying our mortgage. And so I think for a long time, I beat myself up about it. I was like, if I'm not a full-time photographer or creative, then I'm not like a real quote unquote
real photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think you grow up and kind of realize like none of that matters. And there's so many people that work multiple jobs to make their, thing work, or say if they really want to do editorial photography or commercial photography, but they're shooting weddings every weekend to fill the income gap. I just kind of see it as like my 9 to 5 is me, quote unquote, shooting weddings so I can shoot the stuff I really want to shoot.
Right.
And yeah, it's like I have less of a problem with it now. And I think less beating myself up for not having it be a full-time career, because I feel like I still have maintained so much love and joy for the craft that, yeah, I want to hold on to, because it's something I want to do, I say like it forever, but really, into late age. And I think in order to do that, I have to enjoy the thing a lot and not demand that it be something else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting because I used to think the same thing too, of like, oh, you have to be a professional photographer, whatever that means, is like you have to do it full time, but you don't. And a lot of people don't. And the funny thing is, you were talking about like taking on these jobs that you weren't into. That's like 70% of what I do. And like the stuff that I'm posting that looks awesome is usually the more creative, you know, the more creative work.
Yeah.
And it's not always, I would say usually it's not creatively fulfilling. There's a lot of like interviews that I shoot and, you know, corporate B-roll documentary type stuff and technology videos and different things like that that pay the bills and pay the mortgage. And the stuff that I am posting is, yeah, it's the fun stuff. And I think from the outside in, people looking in be like, oh, they're like always shooting these fun projects. But the reality is it's just like not the case at all. And that's, you know, there are very few people, at least in Denver, and I'm speaking about the Denver market, but for the most part, I had this one friend who told me a long time ago, this is when I was first starting. He's like, if I get to the end of the year and I can look back and have 3 projects that I can put in my portfolio and be proud of, that was a good year. And I was like, oh shit, like really? I thought it'd be more, but it's true. Like if I get through the year and have like 2, 3, 4 projects that I can post on my website or update my portfolio with, like that's a great year.
Yeah.
And the rest is bill pay and work, shooting in hospitals and you know, corporate settings and things like that. So for people coming up or looking from the outside in, like it's not, you know, as glamorous as it looks all the time.
100%. And I think like, you know, of course, like if we were getting paid to shoot the stuff we wanted to do, to shoot all the time, yeah, of course, that is the dream.
Yep.
But in reality, it's very hard to make that work. And it's sometimes very location dependent. And I'm talking specifically to shoot that stuff and get paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
And like still enjoy like what you're doing. And I feel like, you know, just the market that we're in, the day and age that we're in, it's like there's a ton of even just like, you know, if you even look at like your favorite, like whatever, like photographers in other cities or whatever, some of them might be like YouTubers and that pays their bills while the photography stuff like is like, you know, passion stuff and like some client work. Or there's like street photographers that don't make any money from street photography. So they do whatever else they have to do, have a job that pays the bills. And then they might have like, you know, the photography be like the thing they do when they're not working. And I think like, I don't know, especially early on, I thought like, oh, if you have like a lot of like followers or something, that means you're making a full-time living from photography. And then you quickly realize like, that's not the case.
No.
And then you realize that the people that even are crushing it in the commercial world, you know, you talk to some of them and they're like, oh, but what I really want is like more stability or like to be like closer to home, to be like with family or kids. And so the more that I've been in it, the more I've been kind of grateful for my situation because, and look, the job I have is not like it's a, you know, it's not like it's like you shooting in hospitals. It's a 9 to 5 like job in sales. And it's like, it's like if you were full-time creative, like that's amazing. And if you are not, but you're still out there like creating cool shit, like that's awesome too. And I think either way, we need more cool shit. So it's like whether you're a full-time creative or you're not, just try to make cool shit because that is like what people want to see more of. And
that's also like why you got into it too.
Yeah, it's why I got into it in the first place. It's like, I mean, I picked up a camera when I was like early in my career because I was like creatively unfulfilled. And so I think just being in the US too, our natural inclination, or people start asking you like you should turn this into a job or you should turn this into a career.
Monetize it.
Yeah, monetize it somehow. And so your brain just automatically goes there. You try to do that. And if you're not careful, you can quickly kill like your love for the thing. And, you know, it's like people, you know, that got into photography or videography and then maybe they're shooting weddings, but they secretly like don't want to. And then maybe they don't enjoy the thing. And you know, it's like, how is someone that's shooting weddings and not enjoying it any different than someone that's shooting, you know, working a job and shooting passion projects on the side?
Yeah, at that point, it's essentially the same thing. Can we talk a little bit about how you got into photography? I noticed you mentioned it a little bit, but like, what was there? Was there a moment, or was it like a slow progression? Because for me, I saw Lord of the Rings and I was like,
No way.
that's what I'm going to do in my life.
That's amazing.
And I think there were some other movies in general that I had seen that made me want to go into film, but it was kind of like a big moment for me. But at least for getting into photography, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's kind of random. Like, I feel like whenever I was earlier in my career doing the 9 to 5 thing, I was creatively unfulfilled. And someone had recommended The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron's book, which has the morning pages, like accompanying journal. And so I started doing that, the morning pages journaling, and I found it super helpful, super therapeutic, and started writing down different things like that I thought like might want to try one day, or that I thought were cool. And photography kept coming up and like popping up, and like in the journal.
Yeah.
And I think around the same time I saw the documentary Meru that Jimmy Chin had put out.
Oh yeah.
It was a climbing documentary. And so for some reason, seeing that documentary actually made me want to get a camera.
That's cool.
Which is so completely different from anything that I shoot now. And it's not my style at all. But like, it was very much like those guys like Jimmy Chin, Chris Burkhardt, like their photography, and then like a couple climbing documentaries where I was like, I feel like that era, there was just also this big pull and draw towards like the outdoors for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of like coincided with like wanting to get a camera. And I mean, I had like no idea what I was doing. But yeah. So I like had a camera and I was like literally trying to watch like videos on how to use the camera. It's like, I should have just been going out and shooting. But I was like, I need to learn how to use this camera and understanding like aperture and ISO. And
right.
Photography can become so confusing if you like, try to understand all the settings and like try to understand like this and that. And it's like, it was so intimidating. And then it wasn't until I actually started going out and shooting that I was just like, I started enjoying it way more. But there was a photography workshop going on in Asheville, North Carolina. And there was a editorial and commercial photographer in the city I was living in prior, which is Raleigh, North Carolina. She was teaching at the workshop that was going on. And so she posted on her Instagram story, and I signed up for it, and just like to go and learn and just get better at photography. I went by myself. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Just went to go get better at photography. And that's actually where I met my wife, Shelly.
Oh yeah.
And so, she was living in San Diego at the time. I was living in Raleigh, and I eventually moved to Denver, convinced her to move to Denver. And yeah, now we're married and have 2 kids, but
The rest is history.
the rest is history. But yeah, that's how I initially picked up a camera, was like, that Jimmy Chin, like Chris Burkhardt, like
Just
photography, super like, outdoor stuff. And it's like, that's not
cool.
what I shoot at all now.
Yeah.
Talking about like style evolving.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned like learning the technical side of things. I feel for me, like when it comes to photographers and cinematographers, there's a scale where it's like, on one end, you're a very technical shooter, and the other end, it's just like all visual.
Yeah.
Me personally, I feel like I'm more on the visual side, and I've forced myself to understand the technical side just enough to get by.
Yeah.
Which is not the best sales technique for people listening, but that's like how I operate, is like visual first, and then I'll figure out the technical. And usually when I'm operating on like a bigger commercial shoot, I make sure I have the technical guy with me to assist.
Yeah,
because then
100%.
that's huge.
Yeah.
So I balance it out that way. But what about you?
I feel like I fall somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I feel like, one thing I realized about myself, and I think a lot of people experience this too when they first pick up a camera. I feel like there's 2 things that are a barrier to when people pick up a camera, is to them actually using their camera. 1 is the size of their camera.
Right.
And 2 is trying to understand all the settings and technical stuff.
Right.
And so if people are just starting out, like when people have asked me like, what camera should I get? I personally think a camera separate from your iPhone is better, because when you go on your iPhone, you're tempted to text or get on Instagram or whatever. When you just have your camera in your hand, you're kind of just focusing on like the scene and you're not like checking like DMs and stuff like that. But it's like, so the size of the camera. So I feel like people should get a small camera.
Yep.
And then 2 is just like setting it on like aperture priority and then just going and taking photos.
Yep.
And I wish I would have done that in the beginning instead of trying to learn every single setting inside my Canon. It's like,
Yeah.
and that I don't remember any of that stuff or like rarely use it.
Right.
And still shoot on aperture priority. And a ton of people do, and a ton of professionals still do. And I feel like it's evolved a little more over time, especially working with the systems that I have. Like now I feel like I mostly shoot on Fuji GFX, and I've had like a lot of their like X series cameras too, but understanding that camera helps, I feel like, with the photography. And so understanding that, but I probably fall like somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Because do you enjoy like diving into the menu settings and like getting the specific look, or like that?
I don't know if anybody does.
Oh, there are plenty of people out there
Really?
who do. Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. I guess I don't like doing that, but I do like tweaking like a good amount of stuff just to like seeing how it's affecting the photo.
Right.
I don't know, messing around with like dynamic range, like Kelvin.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever it's like shooting, if I'm just shooting natural light and shooting, with my camera, it's like I don't really do like a ton.
Right.
It's like,
It's more just instinct.
yeah, it's like it's like focus settings, that kind of stuff. But maybe I'm just like taking for granted that it comes as like second nature, because that's like I've been shooting a while, and maybe someone that was starting off wouldn't know what like some of these settings are. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if your exposure is good, your focus is good, and the light you're using is good,
Yeah.
then you're mostly okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The basics.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the basics down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like using different cameras though. It's like, like less the settings and more like, oh, I want to bring this medium format film camera, the digital camera, and then I might want to bring like a 35 millimeter camera, just because I feel like they do all kind of take like different photos.
Yeah.
So I probably nerd out more on gear than settings.
That
I
makes
probably have
sense.
too much gear.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot of gearheads out there, and I have some
Yeah.
good buddies who are just like way into the camera menu systems, and like they get in there and they're like dialing in exactly what they want, and I'm like, my God, that ain't me.
I mean, if it makes your final images better, like,
Oh, I wish I was more that way all the time.
Yeah.
Like I wish I wish my brain operated like that more, but it doesn't. So yeah, I'll dive into the camera system and like make sure I know what I'm doing, but it's just to get by.
yeah. I guess it depends on where you're shooting too. It's like if you're shooting real estate or like
Yeah.
commercial stuff, if you're using a ton of strobes, like
Yeah.
that, if you're using a tripod or tethering, that stuff does matter,
Yeah.
especially if you're, tethered and you're shooting like specific client stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean,
But I feel like at what point is it just like,
right.
I don't know.
I think it's more about the lighting to me is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And, on bigger commercial shoots, I'm definitely spending a lot more time on camera systems and settings and talking with my assistant and like making sure we're dialed. Like that does happen, but I'm definitely more on the visual scale and focusing more on the lighting and the framing and the direction for the subject.
Yeah.
You mentioned like you really enjoy shooting people, and I know a lot of your work is like personal work. But are there dream clients out there or brands that if something came along, you'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, like this would be sick?
Man, I feel like I got super into running in the last couple of years, and Satisfy Running, if that'd probably be a dream client of mine.
Oh, no, I don't know if I'm familiar with them.
They are a running brand that's out of Paris, and they do just like really cool running gear, like super like
Nice.
super technical like materials, but also like they make like these t-shirts like Moth Tech that are like super torn up, and
Cool.
it's like they just look rad. I know some people like hate on it and they think it's like dumb, but I think they're as a company, like their brand is super sick, and I feel like has some roots in skateboarding too.
What's their name again? I'm looking them up.
Satisfy.
Satisfy.
I feel like that'd be a dream client, or maybe like some skate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still focused on like people,
Yeah.
human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's a photographer, you probably know this dude, Ben Ward.
Oh yeah.
He shot Scott Jurek for for Satisfy's online magazine
Oh, cool.
in Boulder, I think. And his photography's sick. Like, I don't know him personally. I just like has seen his stuff online. But yeah, like that project he got to do, I'm like, dude, that is so sick. Like, yeah,
So
shoot
cool.
like Scott Jurek, like at his house in Boulder.
Yeah.
And the way like Ben shoots, I feel like is super rad. So it like matched like the whole like vibe they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Satisfy would be a sick client.
It'd be cool to go out and shoot. Well, I just shot like a running spot for fun recently, but
If you like shooting running, Colorado's a great place to be for that, because
oh yeah,
there's
it's
like
everywhere.
Olympians like on every corner.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do another one though. Do something different.
I feel like they're like they live such like normal, quiet lives too. Like a lot of these like runners. I shot this guy Drew for the Dad Project, and yeah, I feel like him and his family just live like a little quiet life, like outside of running. And he was like such a nice dude and an amazing runner. But there's so many like in that Boulder like area.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is we're both new-ish dads. You have two. I have one. Finding time for creativity can be challenging.
It's hard.
I'm
Yeah.
still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Any advice? Like, how do you navigate finding time for not only, creativity, but like putting together these creative projects?
I feel like before kids, a lot of creative stuff can be very like serendipitous and can happen like when you want, like in the moment. And having kids is a real forcing function for you to get your scheduling dialed down, because if you don't do that, your time will get eaten up by family responsibilities and
Yep.
work. And so if anything, it's just made me way more proactive as far as scheduling goes, because I've realized like I can shoot like, photos of Penny and Van and Shelly like all day, like at home,
Yeah.
or like when we're like at the park or like hiking or something. And that's fun. But it's like for like this project or like any other creative projects, it really takes scheduling. And that not only means like making sure the person that I want to shoot, like they have time in the schedule, but it's making sure Shelly and the kids are good, like for some hours while I go shoot, and it's vice versa. Like the same when she goes and shoots, because you're also asking like the other parent, like, to watch both kids for a handful of hours. And yeah, so it's definitely more, it's more schedule dependent and driving. And it just really makes you get your like that aspect like nailed down, because you realize like and that it could be for creativity, or it could be like for running, or it could
For
be
anything, yeah.
for anything. It's like if you want to paint or you want to like go trail running, it's like you have to schedule it like when it's going to happen. It's no longer like a random
Whenever
Saturday
you feel.
whenever you feel like it.
I feel like it definitely focuses your time. You have to be way more intentional. The creativity aspect for me has been the toughest, because let's say you have like, okay, I have an hour window to go brainstorm on this project. You can't force creativity. So sometimes like I'll sit down and like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
And it can be frustrating, because inspiration comes when you least expect it a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm, especially with this most recent creative project, is finding time to brainstorm and think through things creatively has been challenging. But I think I'm slowly getting better at it. Not forcing it, but maybe being more open to it. And then, say I'm out running errands with a kid, I'll get an idea, write it down immediately, and then when I have that chunk of time, then I can think through it then.
Yeah.
But it's just so different.
100%. I still will try to journal in the morning before the kids get up or before work.
Yep.
And that does help. And I do carry around like a little
Oh, sick. Yep.
I know, field notes, so Colorado, but I like to write stuff down, and it is helpful because, like you said, it's like some of that stuff does come up in the moment, or when you're grocery shopping, or you're on a walk, or you're like in your car.
Yep.
And and I will sometimes like still try to make time to flip through photo books before I go to bed at night, like it's like just a way to like relax and like when the kids are finally in bed.
Yep.
Try to read a little bit or like flip through photo books instead of like watching TV.
Right.
And that helps a little bit too. But it's harder for sure. I feel like it's like if you can find these little moments in the day where you reflexively want to pick up your phone, but instead you kind of just like zone out, that's helpful. And even if you're just sitting at a red light in traffic, which, obviously you shouldn't be on your phone anyway, but it's like kind of just like enjoying like where you're at and just like seeing what pops up.
Yeah.
And like kind of like keeping that shoot you have like in the back of your head, like what would be cool for this, or what would like kind of like, help with that like project or whatever it is.
Yeah. What other creative projects are you working on?
Honestly, like I've got a few ideas for some projects, but I'm trying to not start them until I'm done with this dad's project thing.
Right. You want to see that through.
I want to see it through. And I am kind of like bad about like, I'll start something and be like, oh, I should start this other thing too. And then, I'll start this other thing too. And then have like a bunch of random things going and then not make a ton of traction on just one.
Yep.
And so I've been just like writing down or keeping note of the ones that I want to work on after this is done. And then just trying not to start on anything until this is like,
totally.
I feel like a place where it's finished. Cause then you have like a lot of like half started things that never get complete. And I'm trying to get better about like finishing stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I get that. Oh no, I was going to ask you this.
Yeah.
What's it like having your wife be a photographer also? That's got to be pretty cool.
I mean, I get it's funny because we rarely talk about photography.
Really?
I think just our styles are so different, and to her, photography is her job, and to me, it's like something I nerd out on.
Right.
And so we don't really talk about photography that much at all, except when is she shooting and not shooting, so I know like her schedule and if I have the kids or whatever it is. But
yeah,
you would think it's like this like creative like bubble thing, and it's really not. It's like we don't we rarely talk about photography.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because she's like the full-time professional,
right?
Like out there shooting, ton of weddings, and
she's not looking over your shoulder critiquing your work. You're like, I wouldn't do that.
No, definitely not. We just shoot totally different things. And like, if we go on vacation with the kids, I bring like 5 different cameras, and she's like, I'm not bringing any cameras, because that's like her work thing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we don't really talk about photography that much.
That's cool. I mean, it makes sense though.
She did start shooting more film, and so we talk about that a little bit, because I feel like I was shooting film for years, and then she got into it in the last couple of years. So now we kind of like talk about film a little bit, or like I've, tell her like what cameras I like or like haven't liked. And it's funny because I've sold cameras that she ended up buying so it's like we could have, if she shot film at the time, could have just used like say like the cameras I had, but I ended up selling some stuff, and then she's like, I think I want this like contacts, whatever. And then like goes and gets the contacts, like, oh, I used to have that and I sold it.
Have you ever like second shot with her for a wedding?
Yeah. When it's a friend, then yes. And it's so fun. Like we shot Sean and Britt's like elopement.
Yeah.
Or no, we shot
Is it done in Telluride?
Yeah, in Telluride. So we like all got a cabin together. And then
awesome.
shot just like, and it just feels like you're hanging out with friends, and like we go out and get dinner afterwards. And we shot some friends in Yosemite. Okay. And that was a wedding that was like right under like Half Dome, and it was like gorgeous. And it was also like a friend I met through photography who lives in North Carolina, and then ended up like, it's funny because like I've had friends that I have met get engaged. I've had friends I've met through photography, then they get engaged and they end up hiring my wife to shoot their wedding. And usually it's just based off her like photography. Like she's really good at it.
Yeah.
And so those are fun when it's like a second shot with her and it's like we're shooting a friend's thing, but I haven't shot a second shot a wedding with her where it's people that I don't really know. And if she's asked me, I'm just like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I'm good.
Well, cool, man. Can you let the people know where they can find you on Instagram or website or whatever you want to shout out?
Yeah. So it's at Riceroni, it sounds funny saying it out loud. RYCERONI. And that's literally just it's what my mom used to call me when I was a little kid. And when I first got on Instagram, I just set it as that and never changed it. And then I just kept Riceroni across the board. I have riceroni.com, at Riceroni on Instagram, all the platforms. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Nice.
And if anybody's listening, and shoot me a DM if you think someone would be cool for the Rad Dads project.
Yeah. Seriously, reach out. I like I was saying before, that was super fun, and it was.
I appreciate you like being down.
Yeah, and it was more than just like being in front of the camera, and it felt pretty special to be a part of that. So yeah, thanks,
dude. I'm glad. I'm stoked to send you the photos.
Yeah,
can't wait for that film to get back.
Can't wait to see it. All right, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Thanks, dude.
That's it.
All right. See ya.